Uh, no, in this recording, it's only going to be available to people who have subscribed and are in this class. So um, it is not going publicly. So don't worry if you want to speak up. You're not the nothing we say here is going outside of Olive. All right. Only people who are subscribed to this class will be watching this video. All right. So nothing goes outside, and it's being recorded privately on my own computer. So it's not going out to the public at all. Okay. Just for security so that you know. All right. Right, welcome to the first day of the academic English and IELTS program for Olive. Um, you will have hopefully received the schedule for this class. So today we're going to do an overview of the exam, and then we're going to look carefully at reading exam, the reading portion of the exam. But as I said before, as I said in my flyer, if you are not sure if your English is good enough, if you feel that you don't understand enough, it's still worth your while to stay. All right. We will be doing exercises to build grammar and vocabulary every day in every class at the beginning and end. And the more you listen and participate as much as you can, that will still build your English. And I want to know what your questions are as well. So if you ask questions, all of the people who are too shy to ask them will be thanking you because they have the same questions. I can guarantee it. If you have a question, someone else has the same question. So let's look at today's schedule. So today I'm going to spend a few minutes, 6 minutes, on the BBC 6 Minute English. If you haven't seen this website before, you're in for a treat. Has anyone used 6 Minute English before? So this is the web page that I'm talking about, and I'll bring it down here. It was one of the, someone has, good. Oh, excellent. All right. What do you have? Wonderful. How have you found it? Did you find it useful? Confusing? This is a great, I consider, seriously, let me know. How do you find it beneficial? So there's the link in the chat so that you've got it as well. These are short audio tapes of a news program with vocabulary and a good pace. So the wonderful thing about that is you can add to your vocabulary in a manner that gives you the context, the usage of those words. Oh, good. I'm glad you like it. The thing that is most powerful and necessary for the IELTS exam is to have a broad or wide range of vocabulary. That means the ability to talk about lots of different subjects. And if you can, that will raise your IELTS score very quickly. But it's no good to study a vocabulary list because it gives you the word and the meaning, but it doesn't tell you how to use it or why or when. All right. So this will give you language that in context. And oh my gosh, this is an interesting one and very good for IELTS. Why are billionaires building bunkers? So that you notice there's a range of article types in this. So there is a worksheet you can download, though it's not necessary. There is a quiz as well that you can use that's on this page. There'll be an introduction. There's a little bit of vocabulary. And then there is a transcript of the whole recording. So let's listen to one so that you have an introduction. Tell you what, I'm going to assign that one for later. So let's look at scared of speaking English. How's that? Okay. So let's find out what this article is about.
6 Minute English
from bbclearningenglish.com.
Hello and welcome to 6 Minute English from BBC Learning English. I'm Pippa.
And I'm Beth. Have you ever been scared of speaking in English? In this episode, we're talking about why speaking in a foreign language can be so stressful. So, Pippa, do you ever get nervous speaking in a different language?
Yes, I learnt French when I was younger and I was actually quite good at it, I think. But I was really nervous when I was speaking French. How about you?
Yeah, I've always felt like that with Spanish. I am scared to speak because I don't want to make mistakes, even though I know it's okay to make mistakes.
Well, in this episode of 6 Minute English, we'll be hearing about how to feel less nervous when you speak English. And as usual, we'll be learning some useful new words and phrases. You can practice these with the quiz and worksheet on our website, bbclearningenglish.com.
But first, I have a question for you, Pippa. So English has around 1 million words, but on average, how many words does a typical English speaker use in daily conversation? Is it A, between 2,000 and 3,000, B, between 20,000 and 30,000, or C, between 200,000 and 300,000?
I'm going to say A, 2,000 to 3,000.
Okay, well, we will find out later in the programme. Now, Pippa, you said you found it stressful speaking in French, even though you are quite good at it. Now, someone else who has had this experience is Hanan Razak. Hanan is a journalist at BBC Arabic and also host of the podcast Beating Speaking Anxiety. Here she is telling BBC Learning English presenter Georgie about speaking English.
My English was actually pretty good, but having conversations with people, I found it really difficult. So when I first joined the BBC, the Learning English team made an assessment of my English level, which they used to do for all new joiners to see if they need any help or courses. My results were pretty good and I was fluent, but on that very same day, leaving the building and going to get some coffee, I couldn't really understand what the barista was saying, and I felt pretty nervous to order coffee and was trying to stress every single word, hoping that my grammar is correct and I'm pronouncing the words right.
Yeah, I'm sure that's a situation lots of people can relate to.
Hanan's results on her English assessment were pretty good, but she was still pretty nervous to speak in English, for example, when ordering a coffee in English. The modifier pretty means quite or a bit.
Georgie says that Hanan's experience is something that lots of people can relate to. If you relate to a situation, you know what it feels like, usually because a similar thing has happened to you.
So lots of people feel nervous speaking another language, even if they're good at it, like Hanan. We can call this speaking anxiety. Anxiety means an uncomfortable feeling or worry about something that is happening or could happen in the future.
So why do so many people have anxiety about speaking a foreign language? Experts think it's connected to the beliefs we have about ourselves. Han Luo, professor of Chinese at Lafayette College in the United States, explains more to BBC Learning English presenter Georgie.
Usually the beliefs that cause anxiety, especially severe anxiety, are, we call it irrational beliefs, and also like some low self-perceptions, fear of negative evaluation, all those learner internal, factors.
And Han says that learners worry about mistakes because they're scared of negative evaluation. In other words, that people will judge them for their mistakes and think badly of them.
Han argues that irrational beliefs can make us anxious. Irrational beliefs are beliefs that aren't based on things that are true. They're not logical.
Han says some people who have speaking anxiety have low self-perceptions. Your self-perception is what you think about yourself.
Self-perception and irrational beliefs are both internal factors. They come from inside your head, not from the people around you.
So, for example, when you speak your first language, you might feel confident and intelligent. But when you speak in a new language, you make mistakes and feel less confident. You can't show people what you're really like, and this is frustrating.
But as we tell people all the time at BBC Learning English, mistakes are normal. You have to try to speak even though you make mistakes. And mistakes can be a good thing. They can help us learn. And if you want more tips to improve your speaking, listen to the Beating Speaking Anxiety podcast. There's a link in the notes below this episode. But Beth, I think it's time for the answer to your quiz question.
Yes, I asked you, how many words does the average English speaker use in daily communication? The answer is 20 to 30,000. That's quite a lot.
Yeah, that's loads.
Okay, let's recap the vocabulary we've learnt. Pretty can be used as a modifier to mean quite or a bit.
If you relate to a person or situation, you understand them, usually because you've experienced something similar.
Anxiety is feeling uncomfortable or worried about something that is happening or could happen in the future.
Irrational beliefs are beliefs about something that is not true. They're not logical.
Self-perception is the way you see yourself.
And internal means inside the body or mind.
Once again, our 6 minutes are up. But if you'd like to find out more about speaking anxiety, then head over to our website, bbclearningenglish.com, to find our Beating Speaking Anxiety series. There are podcasts about the things we find scary when speaking a different language, and videos with tips to help you feel more confident with speaking.
Thanks for joining us and goodbye.
Goodbye.
6 Minute English.
From bbclearningenglish.com.
Right. How was that? What do you think? Was that good? Did you understand most of it? Were you able to follow with the transcript? Come on,
Yes.
I need answers in the chat.
Yes.
Good, good, excellent. So what will happen as you do this? The conversational nature of this is really beneficial. You hear multiple different accents and ways of speaking. So this will really strengthen your ability to listen. It's going to be super important. And as you expand the vocabulary, I encourage you to look for topics that you are not familiar with, something new, all right? And because it will give you the language that you need to talk about that new subject, all right? So I will be putting links to articles from this into the WhatsApp group. So we have something to talk about as well. So hopefully, if we come a little early to this class, we can talk about if you're able to, we can talk about these articles or discuss them in the WhatsApp group. I hope that you will do that. Right. So there is the quiz. I'm not going to do that one today because we need to get on with looking at the exam. So I don't want to run out of time. But are there any questions about using that particular website? What do you think? Will you use this? Yes? I hope so. right? Ahmed, all of you, Sarah, please, I hope that you are, and Nana, all of you, please, if you can, answer in the chat when I ask questions. Thank you. You can even turn your microphone on and talk as well, because we're not a huge class. It won't be too disruptive. All right, off we go. Here's the IELTS exam overview. What does IELTS stand for? Does anyone know? Thank you, Ahmed. Okay. Does anyone know what IELTS stands for? It is the International English Language Testing System. Very, very unnecessary to know, but that's what it stands for. It is the oldest, I think, oldest continuously running in use exam for English proficiency. Here is the format. It is actually 4 exams. Oh, here's my next question. Has anybody taken this exam before? Who has already taken the exam once? No? Yeah, yes or no? Yes or no? No, no, no. Okay, great. Thank you. Okay. We're going to start with a big deep breath then. Okay. It's not scary, but it is very different. So the most one of the things the thing that I want you to learn throughout these next 4 weeks. Oops, there we go. The thing I want everyone to learn over the next 4 weeks is what the test is like. It's different from every other test you've ever taken, because every other test you've taken, you've needed to study a subject to understand it. Maybe if it's maths, you need to learn formulas that you can apply. You need to find ideas that you can apply. This one is purely a test of communication, and you will see that over time. So there are 4 parts to the test. The first is listening. The second is reading. The third is writing. Those 3 are taken all at once. So it'll be about 3 hours at the testing center. I always say, make sure you have a good breakfast and take a bottle of water that you've taken the label off of, because you can't take anything in with writing. So get a clear bottle of water and take off the label, and you can take that with you. You will. I really advise it. And take paper and blank paper and a pen and pencil. So those are the things you need to take with you. As you see, the listening is 30 minutes long, and then the reading and the writing are 60 minutes each, or an hour each. But by the time you have gotten there, queued up, gotten everybody seated and all of the things, plan on 3 hours. And like I said, make sure you have a good breakfast. All right. Now, the reason I'm taking big, deep breaths, I want you to practice this with me. This is a very special thing. There is fMRI images that show that it improves your brain function if you do this. Yes? Hello? Okay, please keep yourself muted unless you're speaking in the class. Thank you. Right. So if we take a big deep breath, we improve the blood flow to our brain. and everything will be easier. I'll tell you more about that later. Okay. So we've got 4 parts. Now, the general training is only for usually visas or for job placement. So if you are planning on academic study, if you're applying to a university or to a professional association, like getting recertified for medicine, law, architecture, there's quite a number of professions that require an IELTS, and that will always be the academic IELTS. So jobs, visas, general training will work. But for the rest, it's going to be the academic. So that's what I will be focusing on in these. Now, what do the band levels mean? This is the other strange thing about this test. Imagine going into a maths exam in university and seeing simple addition as part of the exam. That makes no sense at all. You would never do that. You wouldn't have basic algebra in on a trigonometry exam. You wouldn't have basic questions there. It would be silly. But there is only one exam for this whole range of ability in English. So there are going to be a lot of questions that are very easy indeed. And there will be some questions, unless you're looking for a band 8 or 9, which means you're a C2 level English speaker, right? Unless you're up looking, unless you need that level, there are going to be some questions on the exam that are too hard. So we have to, which is very hard if you're like me. If I'm not getting everything right, if I'm not getting 100%, I think I'm failing. I'm a perfectionist. It's terrible. So you have to let go of your perfectionist and focus on answering all the easy questions and then the difficult questions and leaving the hard questions for last. All right. So for academic work, you will need a B2 to C1 level. The lower end of the B2, so that's around a 5.5, will work for most places, will get you into a foundation program. All right. If you're looking for a college level program, then you're fine with a 5 or 4.5 or 5. It depends entirely on the organization that's asking. All right. So the most important thing is I'm going to be showing you how to get the highest marks possible for your current level of vocabulary and grammar, and also showing you how to raise those levels. But we're going to be focusing on the exam skills and understanding this exam so that you walk in, sit down, and you know what to expect, and you know exactly how you can get the best marks. All right. So here we go. The scores are calculated by averaging. All right. So within each unit, there will be an average. Okay. So if we're talking about the writing exam, it's marked on 4 criteria, which is task completion, coherence and cohesion, vocabulary and grammar. And those 4 scores will be averaged together to give you your writing score. All of the scores for listening, reading, writing, and speaking, equally weighted, will be averaged to give you your final IELTS score. Some universities, like Russell Group universities, will require that all of these be above a certain level, like above a 6 or above. So even though, so you can't get an average that doesn't get you through, but it's just that will be individual universities that will tell that. But that's how it is. That's how you get your final score. Am I a band 7? Yes, I've got an 8 on one, a 6 on the other, and a couple of 7s in there. And there you go. And that will be averaged to your score. All right. How do you know what score you need? The only way to know what score you need is to ask the organization that is requesting the IELTS. So if you already have a program that you want to join, you've got the university picked out, you've got everything set up, great. The admissions information to that university and that program are going to be, they're going to tell you what band level you need. All right. If you don't know yet, if you have not yet chosen a university, you're just hoping, what you need to do is look at a range of programs that you would really like to join, and look at what they require. And that will tell you where you need to aim, how high you need to go. Okay. So look to the organization or university that's requiring the IELTS to find out what band level you need. All right. So here we are. So, as I said before, this is a test of communication. Not how many words do you know, but how can you use them? Can you understand what you hear? Can you take in information and make decisions based on it by listening and by reading? Okay, so these are the receptive skills. And then there's the 2 expressive skills. Can you communicate? How well can you get your ideas across to another person? All right. How well can you communicate your ideas through writing and speaking? And I'm going to give you the tools to do the best you possibly can at your current level. All right. So throughout this exam, your focus needs to be on the questions. Listening, the questions tell you what information you're trying to hear. Okay, so if you're trying to fill out a chart with of a timetable, you're listening for those time statements and numbers. Afternoon, evening, 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 p.m. What time? What thing? So the only way you know what to listen for is by understanding the questions. So this is going to be my challenge to you, is from now until you face the exam, you need to read as many IELTS questions as you can. The more you read them and find the right answers and get them wrong and look for, oh, that was the correct answer. Ah, okay. So I'm listening for this, but what I heard was that. So there's understanding what they're asking for is really important. So we're going to be focusing on the questions throughout. And after the break, I'll show you how much you get just from looking at the questions. All right. In reading, the questions tell you what the document is about and what parts you need to read. In writing, understanding the question that you are answering in your essay is 1/4. 25% of the mark is just understanding that question. Isn't that incredible? So if you focus over the next 4 weeks and beyond, up to whenever you have an exam, if you focus on understanding those questions fully, you're getting a quarter of the mark already before you've even written a word. All right? And in the speaking test, the examiner will actually guide you towards using more complex language than you even think you're able to by their questions. And that's their job. So, right. So, what are we going to be focusing on? I want one word in the chat. What are we going to focus on throughout our preparation for this exam? You can say it out loud or write it in the chat. I don't care. What are we going to be focusing on?
Question.
Yes. Yes. The questions will get you through. There's only one thing on this exam that will help you get through this exam, and that's understanding the questions. It's the best thing. You do that, the rest is easy. All right, let's see what the structure is on all of this. Thank you so much, Wilfred. Understanding the questions. That's our guide. That's it, Indira. Absolutely. All right, let's look. We're going to start with the reading test this after the break. It's an hour long. There are 40 questions. Do you think you have to answer all 40 questions correctly to get, what band do you think you'll get? If you answer all the questions and they're all correct, what band will that get you? Do you think? Yes, that's a 9. You're absolutely right. So if you need a 7 for your university, how many questions do you think you have to get right? Anyone want to guess? You only need 30 questions correct to get a band 7. All right. So when I say laisse tomber, let it drop. Let your perfectionism go. Answer the easy questions first. All right. There'll be 3 documents. I will guarantee you, and you'll see this in the after, I won't spend a lot of time on this, there is not enough time to read 3 documents and answer 40 questions. There is enough time to read 40 questions and find the answers. All right. So, and we'll see this. They are general essays for a non-specialist audience on academic topics of general interest. And some may contain diagrams. So, big key down here, there is not enough time to read the documents. You can only succeed by reading the questions first. All right. So these are the skills that you'll be using. You'll be skimming and scanning the text to find those. It's a word hunt more than anything. So think of it as a word hunt. You're looking for the words that will give you the answers to those questions. Right. On the listening test, this is 30 minutes long. If you are taking the paper exam, there's a 10-minute transfer time as well. If you're taking the exam on a computer-based, that doesn't apply. There are 4 conversations. Again, the only way, this one. What would you like to see, Wilfred?
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Sorry.
No problem. All right. You will get a copy of the slides as well at the end of the class. Ooh, there we go. All right. So all of these slides will be there in a PDF at the end. Yep. Scanning speed, main idea. Right. So in the listening test, we are going to have a conversation between two people, which will be someone ringing up the library to find out what's available, or the second one might be someone at a sports center saying what classes are available. Then sections 3 and 4 get a little more difficult. We'll need a lot of synonyms and the ability to summarize. So that will be a conversation up to 4 people talking about an academic subject. And the fourth is, like the reading, just an academic talk about a non-specialist subject. Here we go. Right. So again, it's going to be understanding main ideas, finding detailed information, recognizing opinions, and the hardest part, following the development of an argument. So the two writing, this is just a quick overview. We're going to go into more detail on these in the classes that are specifically for each of these sections. The writing exam has 2 parts. Yes, you have to write 2 essays in 60 minutes. There's only one way to do this, and that is to understand the question and to plan what you write. So remember I said understanding the question is the first, and the second is coherence and cohesion, and that's where the planning comes in. If you take the first 4 or 5 minutes of each task to make a plan, then that's the other 25%. If you understand the question and make a plan, that's 50% of your mark in the writing. And you still haven't written a single word, right? So you've got an essay to write. Believe me, 150 and 250 words goes by faster than you can imagine. It's not hard. I'll show you this when we get there as well. But understanding the question, making a plan, that's half your mark, and you win that half of your mark in the first 4 minutes of each section. Then you have the opportunity for your grammar and your vocabulary to shine. All right. And that's how it works. So we really have to focus on understanding what we're doing. Task 1 is visual data. And the best way to approach this is to explain it, describe it as to someone who can't see the data. So it might be a graph, a chart, a table, a diagram. It could even be a map. And you need to explain what it shows. And that's it. So very straightforward. You're describing the data, no opinion allowed. The second essay is an essay in response to a point of view. So they'll give you a statement and ask you whether you would agree or disagree with that statement. And that's what you need to write about. And I'll show you how to do that when we get there. All right. So in this, this is the basic setup. Did you understand the task and write about all of the relevant parts? Is there a logical progression in your writing? This is so important because that, like I said, is half your score. Do you have sufficient words to discuss everyday topics? So looking up specialized words, memorizing long lists of vocabulary will not do you any good at all. What you really need to do is to have a good control of the words you do understand. And in the grammar, can you write compound and complex sentences? Now, if you've looked at the timetable, you'll notice that in our third lesson, there is a grammar. We're going to spend the first hour on grammar, and that's really important. So please make sure that you come to that. I'm going to be showing how you turn whatever vocabulary you have into these beautiful compound and complex sentences. You don't have to have a huge range of vocabulary to write compound and complex sentences. I'll show you how. All right. The speaking exam is a face-to-face interview with an examiner. Two things to remember. They are your advocate. Their job is to see how high you can go. Right? Errors only count if you repeat them. So if you make the same mistake over and over again, yeah, that will count against you. So, but if you make a mistake in one sentence and correct yourself, that's not going to count against you. Once again, relax. It's going to be okay. Pretend you're talking to me or your best auntie that you haven't seen in, 2 months, and you want to tell her a story. Okay. Part two, the first part is an introduction. It's just asking you some questions about your life, what you like, things like that. The second part they'll say a long turn, you must speak for 2 minutes. Oh, tell me a story. If you make a connection with the subject, what was a film you watched as a child? Great. I'm going to talk about this film. I was with this person. It was a special occasion. We went for my birthday. I was really happy about it. We had popcorn, whatever. All right, whatever happened. Or it was an outside cinema and we sat in the warm evening as it got darker, and then the film came on and I loved it. Okay. So if you tell a story, you will use complex and compound language, sentences and all. In part 3, they'll be asking you questions to help develop and expand your language usage. And here the key will be to talk about the past, the present, and the future. Do you think films will be shown in theaters in the future? Wow, that's an opportunity to talk about. Well, in the past, people needed to go someplace in order to see films, but now everyone has the ability not only in their home, but also in their pocket to watch films. So perhaps in the future, they won't open in theaters. I don't know. Maybe. Or maybe it's because the communal experience of watching a film together will make it even more popular to see them in a cinema. So different ways that you can ask that. So that's the kind of question. So if you can think about past, the present, and the future, you'll win on part 3 as well. And all of that will help you show your grammatical range. Pronunciation. Yes, pronunciation is marked, but only on one level. Can I understand you? So your accent is not judged. The only thing that's judged is can you be understood? Remember, this is an exam of communication. So that's it. That's all 4 parts. Do you have any questions? Any questions or comments? Either one.
The question I'm asking is that how's the essay structure? Is it introduction, body, and conclusion?
Yes. It's introduction, usually 2 body paragraphs, and then a conclusion. for the essay, for the main essay. For the task 1, it will be a description of the data. So this is a bar chart covering the years from 1980 to 2000, showing the profits for a major corporation for this period of time, with an overview, an overall statement, and then the data that supports that overall statement. Overall, there's been a general growth in the sale of tires in this area over the, anyway, so description of that. But in the opinion...
What about the introduction? Is it okay? For me, I used to do the statement thesis in my introduction. I don't know whether it's this.
Yes. So for the opinion essay, you will do a statement thesis, and you will also, I will encourage you also to put your opinion, the position you're taking, in your introduction. And I'll show you when we get to that day, I'll show you why. Because there's actually a marking criterion that says, is the position stated at the beginning and supported throughout the essay? So you can only fulfill that marking criterion if you state your opinion in the introduction. Okay. Right. I've got 2 minutes before we stop for a break, and I'm going to tell you something about breathing. Now, we've all had moments of anxiety when we can't think. Maybe you were in an exam and you just suddenly couldn't think. And there is a physiological reason for this. And it's part of the fact that we are all descended from people who ran away from wolves, from danger. We all ran away from danger. Our ancestors ran away from danger. We are not descended from the people who didn't run away from danger because they did not survive. So this is ancient. This is as old as our species, is that when we feel anxiety, our brain will shut off the blood flow or slow down the blood flow to the higher levels, higher functions of our brain. Our analytic frontal lobes will reduce the blood flow to those and increase the blood flow to our heart, all of the parts of our brain that control the things that make it possible to run. Think about walking across a street and suddenly some idiot is going terribly fast. This lorry driver doesn't know what a speed limit is and is hurtling towards you, and you leap to the pavement. You get to the pavement, and what do? Oh, well, that was close. You've just experienced what happens in an exam. Because the minute you saw that lorry headed for you and you leapt to the pavement, you weren't thinking about whether or not he ought to be speeding. You didn't think about the speed limit. You didn't think about anything. Your body was focused on moving to the safe place, right? And as soon as you're safe, what do? So what these are, and there are fMRI images to prove it, there are 2 switches in your brain. There is the anxiety, and it doesn't matter what it comes from. The problem is, this is so old. This is so deep in our brains. This is such an old part of our brain that it sadly can't tell the difference between a lorry hurtling at you and an exam paper. So if you look down at the exam paper and you feel anxious, this part of your brain is going to do the exact same thing it would do if it were a lorry. But we have a switch to turn it off. And that switch is that long, deep breath. And there are fMRI images that show that this reverses the effect of the anxiety reaction, and it allows you to think again. So that's your switch for turning off the anxiety, that ancient anxiety reaction. So if you will, throughout all of our classes and every time you sit down to study for the IELTS, take a long, deep breath. And you won't forget to do that in the exam. You'll remember. It'll be automatic. All right. And that will give you a lot more power on the exam. Right. We're going to take, I'm going to pause the recording. We're going to take a 5-minute break. So if you want to, now, again, this recording is not going to anyone outside of this program, so don't worry. All right. So just us. Welcome to the second half of our first class, and we're going to be looking at the reading exam. All right, so here we are, there we are, we've made it second part. Okay, so first, I said this when I was doing the overview of the exam. I'm going to say it again. There is not enough time to read the documents. They are quite long, and there just is not enough time to read them. Okay, you must. What do you need to read? What did I say we needed to focus on throughout this entire exam? What do you need to read first? Yay! That's it exactly, the questions. So that's what we're going to do. And I will show you that you can predict some of the answers. Yes, no, don't look for the main idea in there. You want the only thing that you care about are the questions. All right, I'm going to, so I want you to imagine walking into a bookstore, covering your eyes, spin yourself around, walk to one of the shelves, pull out a book, and read the first chapter of that book. What are you going to learn from that? That's right. Read the questions. That's it. So there's no reason to read that book. If you went into a newsagent and blindfolded, chose a magazine, and then read it from cover to cover, everyone would think you were absolutely insane. There is no reason to read it. Only read for a reason. And in this exam, the only reason that we're reading is to answer the questions. Okay, so we're going to use guide words in the questions to locate the answers in the text. We are going to skip the difficult questions and leave them to the end, but then we're going to guess, because a wrong answer and an empty space have the same value, so it doesn't matter. So guess, because you might get it right. So it's worth guessing. All right, so let's go on. Here is our chart for band scores. All right, these are how many questions you need to get right for each level. If you need a 6.5, lots of programs do require a 6.5, or a 6 in reading. They might need a 7 overall, depends, or maybe you need a 6 overall, doesn't matter. So look at how many, so 13 questions are optional for a band 6.5. 17 questions are optional for band 6. All right. So what are we going to focus on answering? We're going to focus on answering the easy questions. So, and really let go of the rest. We can always guess them. That's all right. But if we spend time on a difficult question, and there's one that always, question type that always traps me, and I'll show it to you when we get there. All right, but let's get started. All right. So these are some of the question types: multiple choice, sentence completion, true, false, not given, and yes, no, not given. These questions are the ones that are a possible trap. I'm going to show you what to do with those. Matching headings, short answers, matching sentence endings. Again, the more you practice these types of questions, the more you practice answering the questions, the more you'll understand what kinds of answers they are looking for. All right. So, great job. So, our strategy is going to be That didn't work. Why didn't that work? Oh, there we go. Read the questions first. They will tell you what the subject of the document is. They will show you what the key words to look for in the document are. Try summarizing the question. It will allow you to use some synonyms. It will get you thinking of synonyms that you might find in the document. Use scanning if you're looking for a detailed information, like a date or something of that sort. And if you've got a question about the overall meaning or intention of the article, try reading the first and last, there we go. Try reading the first and last sentences of each paragraph. And then, last of all, guess. Never leave a question blank. All right. So, let's get started. Here's our first challenge. Now, I'm going to show you some questions. I want you to tell me what the article is going to be about. Off we go. Well, what do you see here? What is the article going to be about? What is the main subject? Yes, you've got it, Wilfred. Exactly. Exactly, Ahmed. Yes. Now, how easy was that? Did you need to look at the document to find out what the document was going to be about? Yes. And this is why I say read the questions first. Okay. You don't need to skim. There are plenty of people out on YouTube advising people to skim the articles at the beginning. It is a waste of time. I will actually give you a YouTuber who agrees, who teaches this method. And oh, by the way, the British Council teaches this method as well. Read the questions first. Excellent. All right, so we know what the article is going to be about. It's about rice farming. It's going to be about rice production. This is great. We know that. What are some key words that we're going to be looking for? What is the keyword for the first question? Two interesting things. What kind of land, right? And yeah, exactly. And there we go. So, is it everywhere? Is it almost everywhere, or is it mainly on floodplains and coastal plains? What do you think? If you were going to guess which of these answers was correct, what would you guess? Do you think it would be everywhere, almost everywhere, or C? Yeah, my instinct is C. The question is, now, look at that. Now we need to go find out if we're right. Okay, so we've gone from knowing nothing about the article to now we know it's about rice production, and now we've got something interesting. We think that it's mainly grown on plains and coastal plains, right? But we need to find out if we're correct. I don't know if I'm right. Maybe I am. I think I'm right. Well, let's find out. Okay. How about the second one? What are the keywords that we're looking for? See, we're gonna guess. Let's see. So what are we looking for? Yes, we're going to be looking for how is the land measured? Because if the land is measured in miles, there's only one answer that's correct, right? And if it's in kilometers, then it's going to be one or the other of these. Okay. So if it's in kilometers, then it's either going to be in China or in the world. Okay, so we've got our keys. We need to know, is it in miles? If it's in kilometers, is it talking about just China? Or is it about the world altogether? So, would you say we've got some, and you've got to, oh, and we can also make a guess. So we can also make a guess. Which do you think it will be? All right. So we can think about that. But look at how much we know already. Okay. All right. So we've got some predictions. This is good. Okay. B. Well, people are from A. All right. So, shall we look at the document now that we know what we're looking for? Okay. Fatima, you think C? That's great. Excellent. So let's figure out which one it is. So remember, we're going to be looking on the first one. What kind of land? Right? And we think it might be on floodplains and coastal plains. But it could be, well, we're pretty sure it's not everywhere because that would be silly. But almost everywhere? That's a good question. It's really between B and C. If they're measuring things in miles, we know it's A. If it's in kilometers, it's one of these. Let's go C, now that we know what we're looking for. Do we see the answer? Do you see the answer to the first question? This is a good one because it looks like, yes, you have to be careful because in the first sentence, they settled in river deltas, which would mean that our guess was right. But if we keep going, today it is grown practically everywhere. Right. So what does that mean for our first question? That's the correct answer. Yeah. What? Which one is it? Okay. Does practically everywhere and everywhere mean the same thing? Yes, because there's an except. So it's not grown everywhere. It's grown everywhere except Antarctica. So yes. Now you're using your logic. Good job. Good job. So yes, that's our correct answer. There we go. There we go. Good job. Good job. No, that's all right. This is how we're learning. We're absolutely learning. This is super important. This is what I mean by the more times, the more of these sorts of questions that you read and you find the answer, and then you go back and you understand, oh, that's why that's the right answer. That is going to mean that the next time it's going to be easier. So your real task in preparing for this exam is to learn what these questions are expecting for answers. All right. How about number 2? Remember what our first analysis, what was the first thing we were looking for? Okay. So what are they measuring these things in? Just by scanning it. You don't even have to read the numbers. Yes. So it's in kilometers. So we know that it's not answer A. Excellent. We've got that eliminated. So are we talking about China or the world? What do you see? And try and come up with a word. We've also got a number. We've got numbers. So we've got that number 1.5 million and we've got that number 1.3 million. But remember in the question, in the question, it was not about Asia, it was specifically China, and that's not all of Asia, is it? Right? So in 2002, it's estimated rice fields covered almost 1.5, and that would be in the world. Exactly. Right. So our answer is C. There we go. Yay. So we've got C and B as our correct answers. All right. Well done. Well done. Okay. It was tricky, but you did it. You did it. You got there. And best of all, even if you didn't get it right the first time, now you can see the logic that they use to the logic behind the questions, right? And that's what we need to learn how to follow their logic. What do they mean when they ask this? All right. And I mean, this is, I guess, the part of the exam that I don't love. A lot of the skills in this exam I love because I wish I'd had them before I went to uni. But I didn't, not explicitly this way. So, but the understanding what they're asking for, that's the biggest challenge. And believe me, when I first started working on teaching this exam, I had to learn that. It's like, okay, if they ask it this way, this is what they're looking for. All right. And you will get that by the time you've practiced a few times. So let's look at a sentence completion. Now, oh, wait a minute. Did I leave? Sorry. So when you've got a sentence completion like this. Sorry, I'm going to shift this over so we can see it a little better. There we go. There's a couple of things that you need to notice. One is it says no more than 2 words and or a number. And that's going to be really important to pay attention to. So you don't want to use 3 words. And yes, articles count. So the blue bottle would not work because that's more than 2 words. So you don't want to use articles when you are doing this, answering these sentence completion questions. What you want to do is use the grammar to help you find it. So blank is the most recent strategy to stop smoking. I'm going to tackle the problem of smoking. All right. Oh, God, I'm sorry. I left it. Okay. Right. So, taking a look at these sentences, what is the article going to be about? Blank is the most recent strategy for tackling the problem of smoking. A large number of new smokers make certain the cigarette companies will always have a blank. In some countries, packaging is the only method cigarette companies have for what? And packets are seen as being the blank in the cigarette industry. I'm sorry, I don't understand your question, Wilfred. Do you want to? You can turn your mic on and ask if you want. Or okay. So what is this article going to be about? Yes, exactly, Marwa. Thank you. What about smoking? What aspect of smoking is the problem? Or that I just gave it away. So how would you describe what is the problem of smoking? Why would smoking be a problem? What are we trying to achieve if we think smoking is a problem? Yes, we want to stop people from smoking. Excellent. Right. Large number of new smokers, particularly under 16s, make sure certain cigarette companies will always have a blank. So what are we talking about here? So we're talking about young people, right? So this is about young people starting to smoke. So, and the last 2 questions are focused on what? Yeah, exactly. So, oh, why is my mouse not working suddenly? Okay, sorry, my computer seems to have gone silly for a bit. All right, so we know that We're looking at the problem of smoking. We're looking at young people who are starting to smoke, and then what relationship does packaging have to do with this? So good job. So we've got a little bit of a summary idea of what we're doing. Okay. There we go. Right. So we know what we're reading for. Blank is the most recent strategy to tackle the problem of smoking. So we're looking for a noun, right? Or a noun phrase. And we've got another noun phrase here. We'll make sure that cigarette companies will always have a blank. Okay. So that's going to be another noun. In some countries, packaging is the only method companies have for blank. That could be a verb. It's usually for doing something. If we use for, method for, it's going to be an action. Okay, so we need a verb there. And packets are seen as being the blank. So it's got an article, so that's going to be another noun, isn't it? All right, so we know what the article's about. It's about smoking, right? Stopping people from smoking. We're talking about young people and we're talking about packaging. Let's go find out what they have to say. All right. What does that first sentence tell us? You see something that sounds like the problem of smoking? Something is a problem, especially a social problem. What analogy do we often use? If smoking is a problem, then we are, there's a word. Yes, you got it, Mama. Absolutely spot on. Okay, so what is the noun that is part of the war against smoking, or noun pair phrase? What is being used in the war against smoking? Still in that same sentence, it jumped out because we knew that we were. Yes. What specifically? Now, in a question like this, you're going to look, you want to take the words exactly from the article. Awesome, Ahmed. That's it exactly. Plain packaging. That is our first answer. Very good. And you'll see if we go back to the sentence completion, we can fit the words plain packaging is the most recent strategy. And over here, latest front. Okay, so plain packaging is our answer there. Okay, second sentence, a large number of new smokers. Okay, we need to find something that is talking about new smokers and find out what that gives. Means it makes certain that the cigarette companies will always have a something. What do we think that will be? Can you guess? All right. Oh, sorry, went back the wrong way. Right. So look at this. Find under 16s. Can you see it in the text? Does the number pop out at you? Did you find our sentence about young people? Yes. Very good. And yes, Nana, you found it. And there's our two words that we need to complete our sentence. Yeah, that's all right. No, don't worry, Nana. Exactly. And that is exactly the two words we need. Sorry. Come on. There we go. Those are exactly the two words we need to complete our sentence. Right? We get back to the sentence. What is it? Make certain the cigarette companies will always have a viable market. Does it fit? Excellent. All right. Now we've got to look for countries that what is packaging the only method for doing? Okay, so we want to look at, now we're going to start looking at the packaging. What does the packaging do? For the word countries or anything like that. I don't see a list of countries, but I do see the word and one in particular. Yes. Exactly. So now we have a problem though. Can we put in vehicle for promotion? Do we want that whole phrase? Remember our word limit. So what are we going to put in here? Yeah, we can't use the whole phrase. So what's the word that's most important? Yes, exactly. You're going to use the word promotion. Excellent. Excellent. So this is what you do. You're learning how to interpret these questions, right? You're really, that's the most important thing that we're doing right now is learning how to interpret these questions. Okay, now final question. Packets are seen as being the blank in the cigarette industry. Let's find out what our final noun is. We've got that verb there. And now we need our last noun. What do you think it's going to be? And this is an example. There are two correct answers to this one. So you are fine with either one. Hey, absolutely. And yes, either one of those. No, they're two words long, so you can only use one of them. But yes, either of these two phrases is correct. So that one is one that had two possible answers. Bravo, guys. Really well done. Absolutely fantastic. Let's keep going. There's one actually I really want to do. Yes. Let's go to my everybody's least favorite question type. The old true, false, not given. So well done. I really hope you're seeing that you didn't need to read the whole article. You read portions of it. You found the information that you needed. Really well done. I think that was you guys did an excellent job. True, false, not given is tricky. Two things. One, there's a reason that it exists. Before I did my research master's, I had to create a literature review. I had to look for everything that related to my research question. All right, I needed to see everything I could find in print about my research question to make sure that no one else had actually already answered my research question before I did. Otherwise, I mean, it's not as important for a master's. It is important, but I mean, for a doctorate, if someone else has written a book on your research question and answered the same question you propose, you don't get your doctorate. And I know someone who was in a science field and found out about halfway through that actually somebody had already answered her question. And she had to rework her research and take a slightly different tack in it in order to create an original piece of research. So I had to scan thousands of documents about instruments from the 11th century, because that's what I was studying. And I needed to scan them quickly to see whether or not they were answering my research question, which was about a particular image of instruments. And so I didn't have to read them all, but I did have to find out if the key elements of my research were contained in those documents. So being able to tell if something's not given was critical to my continued research. So there is a reason to look for the not given. I know it seems crazy, but it's also the rabbit hole that I fall down every single time I take one of these exams, because I will read and read and read and go, well, it's almost there. It could be that. No, we're going to go with a really disciplined approach. This is the way it works. You read once. Is it true? Is there information in the document that exactly matches this statement? If yes, it's true. You scan another. Is there any information? If you can't answer that positively, then scan it again. Is there any information in this article that directly contradicts, that is, makes this statement completely false? Is it definitely false? Like they said 300 people, but the question said 300 people and the article said there were 6,000 people attending. That would be a demonstrably false statement, right? Because there's a number in that document that tells you that this is not true. Okay, so is it true? Does the information match exactly? Is it false? Is there information that makes it clearly untrue? If you have no, there's nothing that makes it true, and no, there's nothing that specifically makes it untrue, mark it as not given and move on. Do not fall down the trap that I end up with, which is rereading it over and over again. You'll run out of time for all the other questions you could answer easily. All right. So we're going to try and use that little bit of discipline. Okay. We're going to look at summaries because the information in the article may not match exactly but it will have the same meaning on these. And these are particularly difficult questions. All right. So let's take a look at this. First, we need to find out what the article's about. What's the article going to be about? Have you scanned it yet? The questions? What's the article about? What do you think? It's mentioned 3 times in the question. Yep. That's right. So we've got 2 important answers. There's the Thames Tunnel and tourism. All right, so what are our statements? People were drawn from all over. Drawn from all over. What does that phrase mean? People were drawn from all over to see it. Was it only local people? Do we know what this phrase means? People were drawn from all over. What do you think that means? So we need to understand this sentence. Possibly globally. So were they local? Yeah, traveled from everywhere. Well done, Ahmed. That's really good. Possibly globally. Yeah. We'll find out when we read the article. So extend this. There we go. Over. That's a really good, and we could go slash. So we'll use both of those as our summary of that statement. All right. There were 1.5 million people living in London at the time. Well, that's pretty straightforward. We're going to find out. We need to know whether or not that is correct. That number is either going to be correct or incorrect, right? So that one's going to be an easy one. We need to find out if people only came from the local area or if they came from other places. And we need to know if there were 1.5 million people living in London at the time. So we're going to be looking for a number of people living in London. Right. How about the next one? What does this sentence mean? What are we going to be looking for? What are we going to be looking for here? Mode of transport, yes. Okay. So what, if it says sea or land, what do you use to travel on the sea? Yep. So boats. And what do we use to travel on the land? Yeah. Well done. All right. Statues of the tunnel could be purchased as souvenirs. Statues of the tunnel could be purchased as souvenirs. What are we going to look for? Yes, thank you. Train, car, and bus. Statues. That's very specific, isn't it? Yep. But is it asking? So, but that is super specific. So we need to find out, because souvenirs were probably sold. Souvenirs are sold pretty much everywhere. All right. And so, but we're going to need to find out if specifically statues were available. Right. So what kinds of souvenirs would be possible? Badges, any sort of thing. Pictures. So we'll be looking for things like that. All right. The aim of building the tunnel. What does this sentence mean? What is it talking about? What question is it answering? Why did they build the tunnel? Yes, the reason for building. Exactly. Well done. Let's not do it in the middle. There we go. Reason for building. A little bit further, and I'll put that in. There we go. All right. So there we go. We're looking for the aim, the reason. Aim of building the tunnel as well. Okay, ready for the article? Let's go see what we find out. People were drawn from all over. Is it true or false? Yes. So our first answer is true. People were drawn from all over. What are the words that tell you? What are the words that tell you? Yes. You've got it. Perfect. Perfect. Excellent. So we've got one true. That's good. How about the next one? There were 1.5 million people living in London at the time. Right. So what word are you going to look for? Why do you tell me it's false? Right. So we found the word London, right? And now we're going to read back. And okay, so there were a million people, right? You've got million, yes, or half the population of London. So how many people, if a million people were half the population? Exactly, exactly. If a million were half the population, then there were 2 million people in London at the time. So our second question is false. Okay. Now we've got our modes of transportation, don't we? People were able to travel by sea or land. I'm sorry, I didn't highlight that. Is that question true or false? And how do you know? Excellent. Yes, it's true. How do you know? What words tell you? What are the words that tell us? Sail and yes, exactly. Really well done. That's it. In the age of sail and horse-drawn coaches. There we go. There's our sea and land. Fantastic. So the only thing left is, oh, wait a minute. What kind of souvenirs did they buy? Is there something that says they couldn't buy statues? Is there something that says they could buy statues? Absolutely. You've got it. Read it once. Is there anything that tells you you can buy a statue? No. Is there anything that says that you could buy a statue? Couldn't buy a statue? No. All right. That is not given. Absolutely. Because all they said is souvenirs. And souvenirs is not enough information to answer it. So that is not given. Good job. And look at how fast you did that. Well done. Right. Okay, so why did they build the tunnel? Remember, the aim was to make money as a tourist attraction. Was that why they bought it? Built it? Sorry. Is that why they built it? Yes, it is false. And why is it false? Why did they build it? Excellent. Absolutely. That's it. Well done. Look at that. You guys are great. Look at what a great job you've done. I am so impressed. All right. There's another one that is matching headings. Turn a profit. Okay, that means to make money. And it's a good question. So profit means an increase in money. All right. There you go. Well, it was to make money, but it wasn't, was it to make money as an entertainment? Notice it actually says not entertainment, right? We've got that's why that one is specifically false, because it's saying no, not for entertaining people. It was to move cargo. Right. Good job. Oosh. What an enormous amount of work. That was amazing. So I've got another one that is a matching headings. And so please use the PDF to answer these questions. I've got the answers, I believe, in the PDF. Well, the answers will be in the PDF as well. Right. So the reading question types you can practice here. I've taken, these are examples that I've taken from her website as well. And those are extremely useful. So I did put a, so please do follow these links and use them. I am very cautious about which YouTube links and other links that I give you. In IELTS Liz, she Please don't follow her writing instructions. They are not reliable. But practicing question types on IELTS Liz's site, absolutely spot on, the right thing to do. So let's take a short trip. The PDF will be sent out to you, okay? Because I will be at that, and it will also be available on as a link, and I can. I think that will all be sent out to you in an email, both the PDF and the link to the recording. All right. So those will be sent out to you. And last of all, I'm going to bring us all back to news and levels. I know I'm running over time, but we got a bit of a late start, so we'll keep going. So I would like for you to see my other favorite site for building vocabulary. And this will also build your grammar in a very specific way. This is called News and Levels. Has anyone used it before? Okay. This allows you to learn English grammar the way you learned your first grammar as a child. And I'll show you how this works. Let's find an article that doesn't make us sad. We'll go with the toy that helps the baby monkey. With this, we have lots of short articles on a wide range of subjects. Level 1, all of the sentences are short, simple sentences in the present tense. So if you think about the way you spoke as a child when you were very small, Mommy, want a cookie? I want a biscuit now. Think about the simple sentences you started with. That's what this level is. And it's a good thing to read this, look at the structure, find the verbs. A baby monkey named Punch lives in a zoo in Japan. So there we go. There's our verb. Really important. So it's a simple sentence. A baby monkey lives in a zoo. It's named Punch and it's in Japan. All right. If we go to level 2, you will see that the sentences become slightly more complex and they use the past tense as well. The simple act of reading from one to the next will help put some pathways into your brain. So we've gone from that to a baby monkey named Punch lives at Ichikawa City Zoo in Japan. His mother left him when he was born. So we've got some past tense there. Now, remember I said when we were talking about the writing that you need compound and complex sentences? You'll find those in level 3. So here we go. At Ichikawa City Zoo near Tokyo, so we've got a phrase to begin with, a baby Japanese macaque named Punch has become a popular attraction. When his mother abandoned him shortly after birth, zoo visitors alerted staff, who quickly intervened because baby macaques normally cling to their mothers for strength and security. Okay. So all of this information is in these other levels. And hopefully you will see as you go through how those pieces of information are put together to make those more extensive sentences. And in the interval, you're learning some vocabulary and reading a story about a baby monkey. what could go wrong? All right. So hopefully that will I will be posting some articles in the WhatsApp group, as well as some things from oh, it's not going to work. Anyway, so I do recommend that if you read one or two of these articles a day, you are going to strengthen your vocabulary and your grammar immensely, more than I could possibly do in a class. And read about something you're really unfamiliar with. So if there's something about the environment, read that. What language do we use to talk about the environment? All right. Oh, okay. Right. Yes, there are mock exams. Let's see. This is going to get messy. I'm going to stop share and put some links into the chat. I will also include them in an email. But at this point, I'm going to stop recording and thank you for being